week 2 down of this quarantine. So before I get started, I really, really hope that all of us are staying safe out there. May it be at home, without a paycheck. May it be the people that are still having to go into work and don't have the privilege of staying home. Those on the front lines, like my mom, who's a paramedic, who was actually just sent home a few days ago with these exact symptoms. And for those of us in our lives who directly have family members we love or loved ones that have immune systems that are compromised, or elders that they're very concerned about, it is so important to stay as safe as possible, to take all of the precautions that are being suggested to us. That is so important. And of course, the collective is going through so much right now. We have so much information being bombarded at us. So whether you're struggling financially, in health, mental health, fear and isolation for the first time, I just really want to acknowledge that we are all going through this together. We're all in this together. And we're all here at TBM holding space. In my heart, in our hearts, there isn't a day that goes by inside. We're not jumping on calls all day long to be like, how can we support this community better? How can we show up? Because this is such an optimal time to be manifesting. But there is so much going on that is painful and is hard and is real. So most importantly, feel your feelings that are coming up right now. They are real. They are probably going to span across the spectrum and oscillate between emotions and things you may have never experienced before. Not many of us in this generation has experienced what we're experiencing now. And within this paradigm shift that's happening, which has been predicted across every spiritual board I've ever known, may it be human design, astrology, Kundalini, I mean, everywhere I've ever heard of information, we've been coming and leading up to this point. And it's not really my job to cover that or many other things. My job is manifestation energetics. It's what I know, it's what I understand, and it's what I've been asked to share over and over again. So that's what I'm going to do in the beginning of this episode, to support my community and most importantly, empower you, because again, there is so much potential to manifest right now. Last week you heard me at the top of the episode go into a little overview of the energetics at play right now. And I know many would like me to elaborate, to have some direction during this time. And certainly I want to go over this for our members so we know exactly where to point you of what work to be doing right now, because everything you've been doing in the pathway has prepared you for this moment. This is the time to double down on your work. So I'm going to give you a little overview of that. So though it feels like we are in uncharted territory, the most important thing to remember is that the universe is here to support us, even when it doesn't feel like it. Energetically, we are all being asked to face our deepest fears. I underline our deepest fears. Why? So that we can find our new edge. It's kind of like in yoga, which is a really silly analogy for this time, but those who have practiced before understand when you're stretching deeply and you hit that point where things hurt and it doesn't feel like you can go any further, and then you breathe and you go deeper, that's your new edge. And we're all being pushed to find our new edge, to understand the depths of our potential. And why? Because we are going to be developing a deep trust muscle. And for each of us, circumstantially, this is presenting differently based on our own paths. So if I were to give you an energetic visual of who will find magnetism during this time and manifest, I want you to picture a warrior in the face of their greatest darkness. And this warrior, what it's doing, so again, energetically, it's finding a sense of calm that they didn't even know they had, and leaning into their fears with strength and resilience. Because at the end of the day, once we overcome all of our fears, especially our deepest, darkest ones, the ones where it's like, you know, I used to have them. My deepest, darkest one when I was waitressing was, oh my gosh, if I lose my job, I'm going to have to move back home with my parents. I will have failed. I won't have made it. And I did have to face that at one point. And when we face that and we get on the other side of it, and I get back into my path and my dream, when we face that, then what is there to stop us from anything? So we're going to be facing our deepest fears and creating magnetism on the other side of it. And globally right now, there's a big paradigm shift happening, and we're being called to outgrow old patterns and cross into consciousness. So we're being forced to grow our nervous system much stronger than we even knew imaginable. And before this pandemic and economic dismantling, each of us was consciously or unconsciously manifesting our soul's greatest needs, wants, and purpose. So now we're being forced to immediately release anything that isn't serving us or isn't aligning with that. And it's really a beautiful thing, even though it's so frightening, it's creating new space. And though overwhelmingly scary, again, I know that and I want to emphasize that, it's making way for us to fill that empty space, with what our soul is here to manifest. So Plato philosophized, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, right now, necessity is going to guide us into connecting with our soul's complete truth, strength, capability, and power. So to touch on it again, this new edge will be the most valuable tool that you will gain from this. I really want people to take the time to sit and philosophize what their new edge is in this moment, in this experience. So in this moment today, I really want everybody to sit and think about what is the new edge you're being pushed against, because it is going to be the tool that is going to change everything in terms of your magnetism. Why? Because it'll establish a new threshold of trust and confidence in the universe to guide you on your path. So I remember the most rock bottomy places I've been in, and I want you to take yourself there too. This most scary, fearful, heartbreaking rock bottom, what you received from that, not only were you being rock bottom, again, to connect with exactly what you were calling in, being so close to you, but the biggest gift that you receive at the bottom of it. So for instance, let's take the fear that, and this is universal, the fear that the person you're with that you love the most could walk out on you and leave because things aren't going well and it seems like they're coming to an end. And so one is dog paddling to make it survive and make it breathe and make it work. And then they leave you. I mean, I had this happen. Leave you for someone else even. I mean, just the most heart-shattering thing. And at the depths, at the bottom of that, once that's been faced, you never have to really fear that scenario again. Once you're through the trauma, once you've actually put in the work to get through the trauma, to get into your worth, to realize how valuable you are and how you may have been settling so much in that relationship, for instance, at the bottom of that, you will have this trust muscle that's going to allow you, for instance, to make magic darks have such a bigger threshold before you'll crumble and give in to your old low self-worth situation that you're manifesting out of. Or test will become super easy to pass because, oh my gosh, you've already had the Band-Aid ripped, you've already experienced the worst case scenario in the situation. Or for instance, when it comes to, like the example earlier, the discernment to leave a situation, may it be a job, may it be a living situation, may it be something in your career that you really have to jump off a cliff of, that you've been afraid, maybe in corporate for so many years, and you have this passion that you need to innovate right now, or whatever that will be. This threshold is going to give you the tools to be able to do that, to be able to understand how to survive, how to have the strength, and most importantly, to have the spiritual wherewithal to truly dance fearlessly with the universe. So this will be a challenging time. It's going to challenge you. But what it's going to give you the true gift of is to look far beyond that glass ceiling that your subconscious once thought was possible. So for our members, this is how we really recommend navigating this new threshold. That's what I'm going to start calling this time, a new threshold, because it's such a beautiful gift. Well, let's get into how to navigate it. Number one, to our Pathway members, it's okay to feel all of our feelings. But I really, really encourage people to lean into our fears when we can. Sometimes it's so debilitating and it feels so overwhelming. That's when it's time to feel and nurture ourselves. And then once we get on the other side of that, because we're resilient humans are so resilient, that's when it's time to lean in deeper. But it's the action steps that we take that will create the magnetism. So when we're feeling our feelings and fears hit us, it's so important to subconsciously take to our DREs to address them, to unblock. You have all of those DREs in there as a resource. May it be prosperity or lack, may it be triggers, may it be fear of health and body and wellness. I mean, there's a slew of them. Take to the DREs. Once you've looked at them and unblocked them subconsciously, the conscious action step, no matter how small that you take, right now needs to demonstrate the opposite of what you're fearing. So how in manifestation the opposite always creates the magnetism. An example of this that I used to do when I would feel deeply in lack and I would be so fearful and no money was coming in, I would have to counteract that doing the subconscious work, and then in the conscious space counteract that. I would go and give $2 or $3 to the homeless man on the street. I needed to give an action step to show the universe that I wasn't going to be confined in my fear. In fact, I was going to do the opposite that creates magnetism to create some flow. So it's not about the amount of money, for instance, that I'm handing the homeless man. It's that I'm walking through my fear that, oh my gosh, money isn't coming in, and I'm going to take the little I'm comfortable with and have right now and give that, because I'm not going to live in fear. And this is a practice, right? Pushing through our thresholds, it takes practice, it takes time, it takes developing a trust muscle. Many of us in our different circumstances are being forced to face that right now in this paradigm. So just know, it takes practice, and that's okay. That's part of pushing through a new threshold. Just again, back to that yoga analogy, the breath in, leaning deeper, and it hurts, it's painful, it's scary. That's what this is like. So that's number one. Number two, blinders are so important right now. And it's not to be confused with being an ostrich with our head under the sand. So a really important thing when we're doing blinders is ask ourselves, how can we be socially conscious and help our fellow community while also keeping our manifestation boundaries right now against the societal messages we're receiving that directly rebuttals what we're manifesting. So for instance, if one is still manifesting a job in this moment, you're going to be hearing everything societally, like you can't get a job, it's impossible, there are no jobs, there is no work. And the one thing I will tell you in manifestation, I know this for sure, I saw this through the recession, I've seen it through many down points in society. Yes, this feels like uncharted territories, of course, but you can always still manifest. And I'm going to get into that later because it's really important to show that expansion right now. So for you, if you are manifesting that, it's just as if how you picked up societal messaging when you were young that counteracted your worth and you put on your blinders. You have to do the work to be like, nope, that's not my truth. My truth right now, there's always opportunity. The universe is always co-creating with me. You've got to put on your blinders. So this isn't not being socially conscious and not helping out your fellow community. It's what am I manifesting right now in this point in time that I have to put blinders on to that specific thing, not take in what everybody's telling me or everybody's saying that's rebuttaling what I'm manifesting, and do your due diligence to continue to manifest that thing and to continue to follow the steps of manifesting that thing. It is possible. We'll get into that. 3, to the expander piece. What is endlessly helpful in this moment is going to be hearing from expanders in this community who are continuing to manifest incredible things during this time. They're all over the Facebook group still. We're pulling them on Instagram. We'll be sharing those on Fridays with swipe ups to show you that many people are still manifesting right now. And so I'm going to also be sharing a couple of those after I talk about these energetics to help expand people in this moment still. So take to the Facebook group, ask people, throw out some chains and ask, like, what are you still manifesting in these last 2 weeks? What have you manifested, big or small? You have to continue to be expanded. So that's part of the blinders. It's part of counter expanding out of everything you're hearing socially right now directly to what you're manifesting that is still possible. So those who are single and who are manifesting relationship, because we can't physically go out and meet in person, a lot of people are like, man, just as I was ready to start manifesting dating again, this happens. And it's like, no way. You can still get on the apps, you can still FaceTime, you can talk. And that's happening in the Facebook groups. I've seen people who are reporting like, in this quarantine time, I matched with this person and we've talked now for 6 hours and he seems to cross everything on my list. So it's really important to continue expanding during this time. 4, everyone, I repeat, everyone should be doing up level right now. You either fall into 3 categories. You fall into a rut. So a rut looks like the person who before this, again, was unconsciously or consciously calling in their soul's greatest needs and desires and wants. And many of us were probably on paths that didn't totally align with that. May it have been paths that our parents told us we needed to follow, society told us we needed to follow, we were following to be safe. And the beauty, again, of this crazy pandemic, this crazy upheaving of what's happening in society, is it instantly will again knock us off the wrong alignment path. So that would be somebody who's been in a rut and now they're experiencing the rut. They're really seeing it in real time. May have actually hit some people into rock bottom. They may have been earthquaked off that path of non-alignment, or somebody in the rut right now may still be in that path and it's dwindling and getting smaller and smaller. The rut looks like if you got earthquaked. So the rug fully pulled out from under you. May it have been financially, in a relationship. May you have never dealt with isolation before and not being around people. So that would be somebody in a rock bottom. And what's obviously going on there that you'll learn about is the universe. You've been calling in, again, consciously or unconsciously, something that you really want, and it's orbiting very closely around you. And the universe has to earthquake you into growing your self-worth fast enough to align with it, because it's really ready to come through. So that would be the rock bottomer. And of course, there might be the up-levelers. So the people who are in their aligned paths, it's still going okay, but they're taking in so much societal programming right now that they're not worthy of up-leveling, that it can't happen right now because of the economy or because of isolation or however you're directly being affected. It's time to double down on taking things to the next level. So up-level, the workshop within the pathway, is the most important one during this time, and certainly somebody who's dealing with immense lack. You must go and do unblocked money, or at least while you're doing up level, one part in the day, do the prosperity DRE. It's so important. I have many of my friends and loved ones that are continuing to do that. I'll give an example. Even Max, he has a clothing brand. He has been so freaked out right now with a small clothing brand that I'm like, you have to stop tuning into the messaging, please. This is the ultimate time to be manifesting. He's been doing the prosperity DRE every day. Got a call yesterday. I won't go into details because that's his personal life, but got a call with a whole new portal yesterday that's going to be bringing in what he was making in a week every single week for him during this time. Portals are possible. Manifestation is possible. If you're dealing with any form of lack, please be doing that prosperity DRE every day in conjunction with where you are and up level. 5, recognize and reward yourself when you can feel the new edge that you're pushing against. It's uncomfortable. It's scary. It takes a lot of emotional waves, deep breathing, pauses. And when you know you've reached it, do something to reward yourself. I don't care if it's like a little piece of chocolate. I don't care if it's calling a friend on FaceTime and telling them, whatever you can do to reward yourself, because it's going to continue to help you push further and further against that threshold, which is going to be the gift everybody will reap through this. So those are our 5 steps. I encourage everybody, because this is the place where you will have this recording living. You're going to hear it right now and you're going to be like, oh, I feel such a sense of relief. Okay, great. I know what's going on. And then for some, 20 minutes later, you're going to be freaked out again. 2 days later, for others, a couple hours, a week later. Please come back and listen to the energetics over and over and over again. It is what is going to get you through this time. It's going to get you back on track, and it's going to get you manifesting during this time and on the other side of this time. So, like I pointed out in number 3 of that roadmap of how to navigate this quarantine, this pandemic, and certainly this instability in the economy, we have this little series during this time called #StayInTrust, where we'll be sharing what our community is manifesting, even in these difficult times, directly when this virus broke out, 2 weeks ago for us, to show you that it is possible to be manifesting right now, expand you, that your manifestations are possible, and certainly on the other side of this, even though it feels so uncertain. So please share your manifestations with us, #StayInTrust. You can share them in the Facebook group. We have a link below, and you can also send us a recording of yourself sharing them. Be an expander during this time when you're manifesting really kismet things, because it's going to help everybody else stay on track manifesting themselves. Here's the first one. I did unblock love last week and got back on Bumble. I matched with a guy that I had matched with before but never ended up messaging. His profile seemed boring. He updated his profile recently and we had something in common, so I messaged him this time. We've now spent 6 hours talking over the phone the last 2 days, and wow. No red flags so far, checking off so many boxes on my list. It's crazy. It is totally possible to manifest now. I'm actually just going to speak on this one for a minute, because the very first thing, many of our team members are dating. And the very first thing I said was, this is going to be the best time for dating and manifestation, because you can't make all the mistakes in dating. And I'm not going to say mistakes, but often, wherever our worth is at, we will still run into the fire and go on the date with the people that are totally red flags. They're wrong for us. We won't follow the suggestions and unblock love. We'll sleep with them. We'll just do a lot of low self-worth behavior. And this time is actually awesome because it's making us weed out our tests so much quicker. We literally can't leave our house and energetically communicate the things we would have before that are low self-worth behavior as easily. So I just want to make that note for anybody who's like, I can't date during this time. It's actually a fantastic time to be still doing unblock love and manifesting. Here's the second. A bit of positive news for anyone thinking you can't manifest in a global crisis. I sold my house on Saturday whilst in lockdown after my house opens had all been canceled. I've been in a magic dark for 6 months, but I trusted it would happen, and it did. Now I'm about to manifest myself the perfect next home, and I'll manifest someone to help me move whilst we're still in quarantine. This is just the universe clearing space for all of us to have a fresh start. It's always darkest before the dawn. Don't lose hope, fellow manifestors. XX. Yep. So that's just another one I want to say yep to, because we all get that based on the roadmap I gave earlier. Here's the third. We had to add this one because it's actually really, I think, can make us all have a chuckle during this time with the toilet paper crisis. I manifested a bidet. I've been wanting one for a long time, but especially with the lack of toilet paper, it's been on my mind. My friend said he and his wife got a bidet, and I got very excited. Then he messaged me the next day saying the company sent them an extra one. They just dropped it off at my house, feeling so grateful. And it was the boost I needed because I've been out of work and feeling the heaviness of the world. Who says you can't manifest during the recession? So I think that can lift all of our spirits and bring a little bit of a smile and just show and expand the littlest things are possible, I think many of us, I actually will be really honest with that. I had a moment. I was there at the store and there was a ton of toilet paper. The next day I got there and there wasn't any. There hasn't been any since. And Max and I just got down to 2 rolls and I was like, well, we're going to get creative. And we have a septic in Topanga and up at the House of Mariposas. So getting creative is not the best idea. It's not regular sewage. But Max ended up winning a pack on eBay. So if anybody's short, eBay is a place to look. But yeah, I think that's one that can bring a smile to all of our faces. And here's the fourth. My first kind of big manifestation. I've been doing the work on and off almost a year, but since I got a cold last week and went into isolation, I've done it every day. I've been doing the rut and the health and body DRE. A couple of weeks ago, I updated my list and I put 5K on it just for fun. Today, my accountant told me I'd be getting 5K as a refund on my tax return. What? I'm a non-specific MG. So stoked and ready to double down on the work as I just lost my job due to Corona. I'm not even worried though. Smiley face, heart. So for those of you in the pathway, you now have the roadmap with these energetics, knowing how to navigate doing the workshops, whether it's unblock love, it's unblocked money, the DREs, and up level. For those of you who are curious of joining the pathway or just want to access one of those workshops or a couple of them, use the code Start Manifesting all caps to receive $1 for your first month of your pathway membership. So to help anybody who is in a financial crisis this month, you will only be paying $1 for your first month of the entirety of the membership, and then your second month, the normal rate will kick in. Or for those who just want to try out, again, just a couple of the a la carte workshops, you can use the code all caps quarantine50 to receive 50% off of all of our a la carte workshops. And for anybody who is just needing free relief right now, we have a free quarantine roadmap that we put out last week. You can see it linked below, and that will give you some resources, free resources of just how to get back into neutral right now, to get back into calm, and to have some resources to help you keep your subconscious in alignment with neutrality.